This conference will now be recorded.
All right, here we go. All right, welcome to the 2020 Partners in Giving Campaign Volunteer Training. Our theme this year is Stronger Together, and as you can see on the front page here, this is what our poster and booklet and all the website is going to look like information for the theme. Our website is, well, and we're repeating this a lot through the session today, is giving.wi.gov. Wow, things look completely different. Not only do I not get to see your faces in person, that seems to be our life though for the last 7 weeks, I really truly believe. But I can say our last in-person Partners in Giving event was 4 days before we shut down, specifically on campus. I remember leaving the award ceremony and actually walking straight into a meeting in the dean's office in the College of Engineering and being told start prepping staff that we're going to be off campus. And at that point, it was 2 weeks, but here we are 7 months, almost 7 months later, and still being safely at home. So as Lindsay mentioned a little earlier, we do have the chat function, and that's what we'd like to use for questions today. We have set it up, though, for that 4 committee members are serving as moderators. So in the chat function, you do have the capability of sending a message directly to one of these folks, to Jenny, Hannah, Jody, or Donna, and they will get your questions to us as we go through this session here today. We do have different breaks throughout the slides where we'll be asking for questions, but if something pops up that's something we can answer, we'll definitely do that as well. If there's a question that we're not quite sure exactly what's being asked or just need a little bit of further clarification, we may ask you to pop on and turn your mic on, and if you feel want to, your video on, and we can discuss a bit further. Here's our agenda for today, the welcome that I started with and we'll continue with here in a second. Then we'll go through some general campaign overview information, talk about stats from last year, and for our new volunteers, you know, a little bit about what the campaign is, what's new in 2020, and I feel like I always say what's not new in 2020 with everything going on in our lives and how we're all functioning. So we do have some changes to the campaign. We'll be talking about electronic pledging, and then we'll have close out and answer any additional questions. And there'll be plenty of time for questions. So please feel free to ask any and every question that you may have here. So as I mentioned, Stronger Together is our theme. I'm Tammy Kuhn-Martin. If you haven't seen me before, oh, I should say this is also a first. I know we've done a lot of firsts in the last 6.5 months, but this will be the first that we've done volunteer training together with both UW and stateside folks. And Lindsay, you know, we would do orientation together, but it's sort of we used to split off and do our own thing. So we're both very excited to bring this session together here today. So I'm Tammy Kuhn-Martin. I am the co-chair of the Training and Outreach Committee. I'm from UW and I work in the College of Engineering. My other 2 co-chairs is Christy Hemming. She's from UW as well in the chemistry department. And then Lindsay Johnson is from ETF. But we couldn't do all this work alone. We have an outstanding training and outreach committee. And these are the members of the committee, which some of them are here on the call today and working in the background. Lindsay, Christy, and I greatly appreciate their effort that they put in. And, you know, BC, before COVID, as we like to refer to it in my house, we had some really excellent ideas from in-person trainings that the team quickly converted to a virtual format. And it felt like every month we'd give them new information and they did a great job. So just want to shout out to our folks on the committee. So what about the Partners in Giving campaign? Well, this is a workplace campaign for the state of Wisconsin, UW-Madison, and UW Health employees in Dane County. Since 1973, we have raised over $81 million, which is amazing, 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 amazing. So if you've been part of this campaign before, thank you so much. If you're new to the campaign, welcome and thank you for helping us add to that funds that we've been, such a large amount that we've raised since 1973. And we have over 500 charities that participate under 11 umbrella organizations. On the next slide, I have listed out the 11 umbrella organizations. I'm not going to read through each one here, but do know that we have a representation from local, national, and local, state, national, and international included in all 500 of those charities that do participate under these 11 umbrella organizations. So a timeline for the campaign. Traditionally, folks see the campaign that's just ran through October through November, but there is a lot of behind the scenes work that actually happens year round. So in February, that's when the charities can submit their participation applications to us, to our eligibility committee to be reviewed. In March, that committee reviews and recommends organizations who are going to take part in the campaign. This eligibility committee not only reviews for the Partners in Giving campaign here in Dane County, but they also review for the 2 other campaigns that are here in the state of Wisconsin. We have a campaign for Milwaukee County, which runs very similar to the Partners in Giving campaign. And then the 3rd campaign is the rest of the state, so a statewide campaign. So that committee does look at all applications for that. In April, the campaign dates and goals are set by the administrative board. In August, and I would say through April through August is when a lot of work is done behind the scenes, again, with our marketing committee and our training committee developing, and our coordinating committees getting set, working with the chairs and stuff. In August, the Training Outreach Committee conducts chair orientation. If you are a chair and miss chair orientation on August 11th, we actually have the video from that virtual training on the website, and you can take a look at it. And it's a quick, about almost an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes orientation. The only thing missing is tacos. I know we were very sad to miss the taco bar this year. In September, we hold campaign volunteer trainings like this one. This is actually number 5 of 6 that we're doing. Our last one is tomorrow, and they've been amazing. And people have asked a lot of great questions. And so thank you for coming today. And then obviously the campaign itself runs October 12th through November 27th, though donation and special event funds are accepted through May 15th of 2021 to count towards the 2020 campaign. So if you have folks who aren't quite ready to donate during this time period, they can still make donations through that time to count towards the 2020 campaign. So how did we do last year? Well, last year we raised $2,481,079. So we almost hit that $2.5 million mark, which is great. And I'm hoping this year, even though we really recognize the current situation that we're under, that we really can hit that $2.5 million mark. We had 6,095 donors participate. The average gift is $378. So when you take that over, and if you did that through a payroll situation, that really is not a lot of money that is given each payroll, which is great, because we always tell people whatever you can give, whether it's $5 a pay period, $10 a pay period, it does add up. And you can see folks are really, that's sort of around the average amount that we get. And then our special event receipts for last year were $174,950. We do have the campaign results available by unit, agency, and department. So in a second, this link will be put into the chat. If you want to view what your results were for your agency or department or unit, you can click on that and you'll be able to see that. On the first tab, it will be by agency or school, college, or division. On the second tab is where that breakdown happens a bit more. And so you can take a look at that and have that and use that for your needs within your area. As I mentioned, the 2020 campaign will start Monday, October 12th and run through November 27th. Every year, the administrative board does set a goal. So previously, we've had the goals set as increase participation, increase, a dollar value, work within your unit to what works best for you, kind of set up your own goal. Well, this year, the board has decided our goal is to really have a safe, but still accessible and cost-effective campaign. And so that's what you're going to hear a lot from Lindsay and I today, talking about, accessing, being cost safe and, being cost effective. It doesn't mean you can't set up your own goal within your unit, and we highly encourage you to do that as well. So to work with your coordinating committee member and your loaned executives through the chair to set up what goal works best for your area as well. Okay, this is the first chance that you get a chance to ask any questions, and when I get to check the chat window and see if our moderators have sent us anything, if you have questions about the campaign charities or the campaign history, this is a good chance for you to ask it now. Looks like we still have a few people joining us, so.
I'm done with school.
Okay. Loves of working at home, getting interrupted at the school days end, everybody. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Lindsay, did you have any on your end?
I haven't seen any on my end.
Okay, great. Well, as we said, feel free to ask them along the way and we are happy to answer them. So I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next slide. And this is where Lindsay's gonna jump on and talk about what changes are happening to the campaign this year.
So as Tammy mentioned, our theme for this year is what isn't changing, or what is changing. There are a lot of changes that we're experiencing this year, and some things that are really just the same as always, but we are encouraging more strongly. So This year, we are not offering personalized pledge forms. In years past, if you've been part of the campaign, you may be familiar with receiving a pledge form, seeing your name at the very top of that pledge form, either in a one-pager or in years even older than that when we had a triplicate. And this year, we will not be offering that. Instead, we are really encouraging people to use ePledge. Now, ePledge is our preferred method. It is something that we've used for our campaign for quite a few years now. So some people will already be familiar with it. But again, that's kind of our primary way that we're trying to go about doing this. We still do have some items available digitally then. So most people are used to seeing our PDF charity booklet. That's a booklet that has a description of all of the 500 plus charities that are participating in the campaign this year. And then we do have that pledge form electronically available on our website. So if you go out to our website, giving.wi.gov, you'll find a PDF version of our pledge form as well as a PDF version of that charity booklet. That charity booklet actually just got uploaded last night. The PDF version of the pledge form is fillable and can be signed digitally and then emailed into our fiscal agent. We've got the website here, but that email address is also available on the pledge form. So don't stress about trying to write it down right now. It's on the pledge form. It's on our website. You can find that. Or it can be mailed in. Another alternative that folks have to give this year is they can request materials be directly mailed to them. That means that the campaign will receive their information. We have a little web form that we'll show you later where they can put in their information as far as their mailing address is concerned, and then they'll receive mailed materials that they can complete in person and then mail back into us to make their donation or their pledge in that manner. Chairs were also provided the opportunity to request some paper materials. So we know that there are some of you that are working in agencies or school or business units that you have some essential staff. You yourself may be considered an essential staff person, so you're working on site right now. For that reason, we did allow chairs to order some of those materials and provide them in a centralized location in their agency or business unit for what works best so that some of those people can pick those paper materials up, complete a paper pledge form if they'd like, and then mail that in. So we'll take a look out on our website. As I mentioned, we have a lot of information that's been updated out there. So when you go out to our website, you'll be able to see that we have the 2020 options for giving posted out there. So we have 4 options that we're really talking about this year. The first option, as I mentioned, we're talking about preferred version is ePledge. So you have that option right there to give through ePledge. You also have the ability to access the PDF version of the pledge form, complete that digitally, and then email that into our fiscal agent. Or you can pick up a pledge form and booklet along with a prepaid envelope at a centralized location within your agency, business unit, or school. And then lastly, you can request those paper materials. So there is a link right on our website there for you to complete a survey, a Google form, where you'll enter in your information and then you'll receive that material to your home later in the campaign. So you can do that as a paper version for you. We'll talk about a little bit more about ePledge specifically here. So options for ePledge still continue as they have been. When you do an ePledge, you have the opportunity to pledge either through a payroll deduction or using a credit card or debit card. It's very similar to a one-time donation, or you can do a reoccurring donation if you choose to use a credit card or debit card. And with payroll deduction, you have the ability to split that up amongst 26 pay periods, or you can split it up amongst fewer pay periods. When you do a credit card deduction, you have the opportunity to divvy that up amongst 12 reoccurring payments or fewer payments if you'd like. Same thing, you can still do a one-time payment either through payroll deduction or even through credit card or debit card options. So I do want to point out specifically too with ePledge before I forget that one of the biggest benefits for ePledge is people can see what they gave in the previous year. So if you have people who always give to the same charities, but they may not remember who they gave to, when they log into the ePledge system, they'll be able to see who they gave to in those previous years, how much they gave, and then they have the option to do the same selections over again. Very simple, very easy. What does a successful ePledge campaign look like? Well, we would encourage you to look at what happened last year. Review the 2019 donors report in the ePledge system and see who gave via paper and whether or not they've given again in 2020 or whether or not they've given electronically in the past. And you can look at that through reports. So we have Chairs will have access to chair reporting, which we'll look at in a little bit. We have some screenshots to show you so you know what you're looking for. And some volunteers will also have access as well. What else can make the campaign really successful? Communication. Communication is really key. We hear that more often than not, people wish they knew how the campaign was going, either within their business unit or agency, or even as a whole, how the campaign is going. There are going to be 2 emails that are sent campaign-wide. We have one that's scheduled to go out this coming Monday to everyone, and then there will be another email right before the campaign begins saying, we hope you participate and consider being involved. There's also the opportunity to receive biweekly newsletters as a campaign volunteer. So if we have your name and contact information on behalf of your chairs, if you've sent us your volunteer contact information, you will be included in those biweekly newsletters. The newsletters are great ways to get information about what's happening in other agencies, schools, or business units as far as how they're making the campaign work for them. It's also great reminders of some things, tips and tricks to remember as you're going through how to navigate, how to pledge, anything in particular that may come up throughout the campaign. We'll communicate through those newsletters. Other ways that you'll want to communicate with then inside of your business units or school and agency, sending emails, communicating internally to ask people to participate, whether or not that's in an all-team meeting, staff meeting, internal blogs, internal newsletters, intranets, and then giving those updates to folks about the campaign, how everything is going, and answering any questions they may have. Most often people have questions about how do they give? How can they give? Can they give by credit card? Can they give by payroll deduction? So those are all options for you as well. So with ePledge, on our website, we have some screenshots for how to complete the ePledge system. We also will have a short video on our website underneath the volunteer training portal that shows you some of those things as well. We want to point out specifically when it comes to logging in, state employees who are in central payroll will receive an email usually the weekend before the campaign. So the campaign begins there on the 12th. You'll get that email just beforehand that has your login information. This will include your STAR EMPL ID or your employee ID, and then a specific password that you'll be asked to change once you're logged in. For UW employees, you'll continue to use your net ID after the campaign kicks off on October 12th, So just like you did last year, same type of login situation. We do want to be specific on the state side. That email is specific to you. So if you have people who are coming to you and saying, I didn't get the email, I don't know how to log in, do not forward your email to them. Very often people forget that your information is not their information and they may log into your ePledge account. We don't want that to happen. So help them find that email, work with IT, or you can contact us and we can help get that email back out to you for login information. Chairs and coordinators will have access to that administrative portal I mentioned we can run reports through. As soon as ePledge goes live, we'll be working with the fiscal agent to get that information uploaded and make sure that the right people have the right abilities to see that information. And we'll take a look in a little bit again, like I said, about what it is you'll be able to see once you get in there. All right, so when you go into the ePledge portal, specifically with the administrative access so that you can look at those reports, chairs are going to be able to see the names of who has given in their business unit or school and the total dollar amount they've given. Nobody will have the ability to see who they have given to. So every once in a while, I would say more often than not, there's a little bit of fear. People are worried that somebody else is going to know who they're giving to. Nobody else is going to know. Our fiscal agent knows, and that's where the buck stops. Volunteers, you will be able to see the names of who is given and the grand total for your business unit or agency, but you will not be able to see how much that person has given. If a donor gives via paper pledged form, those pledge forms are received by our fiscal agent and then processed, and then that will show up on those reports when you go into the system. So you have to give that a little bit of time for that to show up because of course we know that USPS is still just experiencing some delays. The mail is taking a little bit longer than it normally would, but we do expect that turnaround to be about a week and a half before it will hit the weekly reports, no problem. Special event contributions. Later, we'll talk about how we can receive special event money since we will not be passing physical money anymore. But I do want to point out specifically that in those reports, you'll have the ability to see the special event contribution total for your agency. And then the loaned executives will work with the chairs to provide more specific report outs for those special event receipts so that they know how much events was raising and what that looks like more specific. All right, so now to look at the volunteer access. So if you're a volunteer, this means that a chair has asked you, or maybe somebody else within your agency or school asked you to help them out with the campaign. So when you log into the ePledge portal, you'll be able to scroll down to the bottom right-hand corner. You'll see a hyperlink that says Access Coordinator Portal. You're going to want to click on that, and that's going to take you to the next screen where you'll be able to see the coordinator portal for reporting. And in there, you'll see a summary report at the top. Again, that tells you what your organization name is, the total number of employees that could be considered, and then the total number of employees who have actually donated, and the total pledge amount that's been received. Below that then is the pledge report that tells you specifically the first and last name of who has given so far for this year's campaign. If you had a breakdown within your school, then you may have a department specifically listed within there. To go back to where you just were, in the bottom right-hand corner is a hyperlink again for Access Donor Portal. You'll click on that hyperlink and that'll take you back to where you were in the ePledge system. For chairs, your access looks very similar. Again, you'll scroll to that bottom right-hand corner. You're going to click on Access Chair Portal. That'll take you to the next page. Within the chair portal, where you'll be able to see the campaign status. The campaign status page will actually show you the total for your organization and then the special events amount. So you can see on this screenshot here, we're showing you the employee total, and then the special event contribution total is just below that. You also get that breakdown of how many employees were eligible or counted, I should say, for your business unit or agency, and then how many have actually given so that you have an idea of what that participation rate looks like. To go more deeply into the reports, you'll see there's 3 tabs listed across the top there: campaign status, reports, and log off. You'll click on reports, and that will give you the ability to then select the report that you want to run, click submit, and it will display under my reports. So you can see that all pledges report, which will give you first and last name of who's donated and how much they gave. That, again, that total dollar amount, not who they've given to specifically. The employee list then, as you can see, is a list of all employees who have access to the ePledge system online. Then when you're ready to go back to the original donor page, you'll click on the Access Donor Portal in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and that'll take you right back. All right, so now's the time when I expect we'll probably have some questions. So what questions does everyone have about electronic giving? I know I've been seeing it flash up, pop up to my side here.
So we have the first question is from Laura. It says, in prior years, the option to split payroll deductions have been limited. Have this become more flexible? Example, I work with folks who want to only donate monthly September through May. So Laura, it's sort of 2 questions that you ask, I think, because I'm going to take a guess that you work on campus, but if you don't, please correct me, that there always actually has been some flexibility in payroll options, especially in ePledge itself. It is set up with the traditional 26, 12, 9, but I also believe there's a one-time and 6-month option. But I think what your question, at least if I was making an assumption, is you're looking at those folks who aren't taking payroll over the summer. So how our payroll is set up, it starts in January. And so we can't set it up like September through May because that actually goes over 2 years. We have to stay within the same calendar year. But what I've actually asked our fiscal agent to do a quick check on is for those folks that, you know, it would cover January through May, and then they don't have payroll June, July, or August, and then pick up back up in September. So if I get an answer before we end today, I definitely will let everybody know. Laura, let me know if that doesn't, if I misinterpreted your question, I guess is what my answer is to that. So what other questions?
The part where everybody's shy, does ePledge really, I hope it sounds, it really is as easy as it sounds. it is really nice, the ePledge system is, which is why we really strongly encourage people to continue to use it, because it does make it really quick. When you make an ePledge, you receive an email right away confirming that your ePledge has been made. So it's just like receiving that receipt, and you can log into ePledge anytime afterwards to do so. Some things that we can definitely point out for you. So folks who can do the ePledge and use payroll as their option, doing that payroll deduction, are folks who are being paid directly. So that's permanent staff, project staff, LTEs. If you are on a paid emeritus appointment at UW-Madison, you can do that as well. Retirees, people who are not being paid directly from UW-Madison or being paid by an agency, they're receiving an annuity. Look at this, is me using my daytime job here. They're being paid an annuity. They cannot use payroll deduction. So what they can do is they can go to the ePledge system on our website. When you click on donate now, it actually gives you 4 different types of ways to enter, either as a UW employee, UW Health employee, a state employee, or a retiree. And they can click on retiree, create an account, and then they can give by credit card or a debit card deduction, either that monthly payment or they can give as a one-time. They can also then select if they would like their donation to specifically count towards their former agency or their former school or business unit. That's totally cool for them to do. Contractors would also give in the same way. So contractors can go on, they can create an account, and they can give using a credit card or debit card, and then they also would select the agency, the business unit, or the school that they'd like their pledge or donation to count for.
All right, we have another question. In the past, there's been a few of my employees who have had trouble getting their login ID. Is there a certain contact we can use to troubleshoot this?
Oh, it depends on which side we're on. So if we are on the state side, usually the difficulty has been when people move between agencies. And I say that because the information that we're using to build out our ePledge system is grabbed based on payroll and employee data around September, mid-September. So sometimes we know that there are employees that move, they transfer agencies and move roles between now and when the campaign starts. And if that happens, we can definitely work on getting that fixed. Our fiscal agent is the one who assists us in the background to fix that. So if you're having issues with logging in because of something like that, potentially, feel free to reach out to Tammy or I, and we can get you contacted with our fiscal agent and work through what's going on so that we can get that person in the ePledge system.
Awesome. Kelly Gaya said, I love, all caps, everybody, ePledge, and thank you for making the retiree giving easy. You are very welcome. We definitely wanted to make it as easy as possible for the retirees, since we know many of our retirees were longtime donors to the campaign, and they really, if they want to continue, we want to make it as easy as possible. So, okay, another question came in. Does retiree giving work the same at UW and the state? Yes, I think that's what Lindsay was just explaining about the giving options. And so if you still have additional questions, feel free to ask. So, Lindsay, do you want to throw out any of our questions?
I do have one more question that I just got,
Okay.
and this is from your side of the house. So the School of Medicine and Public Health are UW Health, and sometimes state employees, and they're asking which option should they select when they're going in to give. The thing that we would specifically say is it depends on who is specifically paying them. So we know that there are those quasi areas in UW, especially where you have multiple bricks. So my suggestion would be, for those folks, if they're being paid specifically through UW Health, then they will select UWH as their giving. If they're being paid specifically by the university, then they would select the university as their option. Same thing, if they're being specifically paid by a state agency, then they would select that as their role, whether or not that's DHS or one of those other agents, 3-letter agencies as we call them on our side.
Oops. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so I did get an answer regarding the summer break. It would, Laura, and I just messaged it to you as well. it would be the first 5 months, and then if there's no payroll, they can't take it out over the summer, and then it would just pick right back up in the fall.
Yep.
So cool.
Yeah, and you can do that no matter what. So if you decide to do ePledge, or anyone that you talk to wants to do ePledge, but they only want to do 6 pay periods, it will be the first 6 pay periods of next year. It's not that they get to pick and choose when that happens. I can honestly say I've done that before. I've chosen to have my pledge come out in the beginning half of the year versus the back half of the year.
Right.
So you can totally do that regardless.
There's an asterisk Carly sent me but you can't choose to skip if you get paid. If that makes sense.
It's true.
Okay.
Thus far.
I'm not seeing any
All
other questions
right.
from my end.
No other
You ready?
questions? So then the one thing we will ask is if anybody wants to talk about how you plan to communicate ePledge out to folks within your department or your agency. We always hear about some good ideas. We've heard about the intranet. Lots of people have intranet websites or newsletters to communicate that. We know that some of you may already be experiencing the burnout on email. So we ask that you choose the communication method that works best for the people you work with so that you don't make people angry. We got one person mentioned that they're going to try their intranet and sending out a video. I like that. We love quick videos. It personalizes it.
Absolutely. I had suggested a couple meetings ago that, you know, how the Zoom bomber thing in there, just meeting bomb, but be polite about it into a meeting if you have access. All school meetings is another example that just came out. Yep, absolutely. If you were doing them in person before and they're going virtually, definitely is another good place to get that information out there. So I love these examples. Okay, I can move on.
Move to the next one. We're going to talk about paper options.
All right.
Because we know there are some people that are still very married to the paper process. We get that. There's nothing wrong with that. At some point in time, we hope to convert all of you to electronic pledging so that we can save a few more trees. As I mentioned before, we have a couple of different paper options available for you. So when folks go to our website, giving.wi.gov, they can review our charity booklet. The PDF version is right out there on the website. The charity booklet is helpful for folks who are doing a paper form or the PDF version of the form because you'll need to reference the charity number. So every charity is given a number and that is listed out in our campaign booklet, and that charity booklet either in physical print version or in the PDF version. Then they'll download that fillable PDF pledge form and they have the option to digitally sign that. So the nice thing is that can be completed completely digitally and then digitally signed, and they can email that to our fiscal agent directly, or they can print it and then mail that to our fiscal agent. Again, the email address and the physical mailing address for those forms to be received is available right there on the form itself, and it's available on our website as well. So we talked about the different ways to communicate, I should say the different options available for communicating that. I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't already thought about it, keep it simple. Feel free to go out to our website. You can find this page, 2020 Options for Giving. Pretty straightforward. It's right out there on our front page to link you to, and you could go ahead and copy this information, paste it into an email or on your intranet or in a newsletter very easily. Don't feel like you have to recreate the wheel. We put the content together, hopefully straightforward, so that you could reuse this, and then you can communicate this version of it out to your folks so they know what their different options are. We do have a version of the pledge form available for you here, so we're going to show you that screenshot just now so that you know what this pledge form looks like. So this is the PDF version of our pledge form. In the very top part, there are some boxes there. That is where the person's going to put in their first and last name and their contact information, their agency or their department, so that we know where it's coming from. Then the next portion is going to be where they complete to talk about their donation. How are they giving? Are they giving to an umbrella group? As I mentioned, as Tammy mentioned, I should say, when we were going through, all of the charities report up through an umbrella. So you have the ability to give to just that umbrella or to very specific charities. If you're giving to specific charities, that information is on the right-hand side where you'll put in then the charity number and the total amount that you're giving. Below that, towards the bottom, is going to be the section where you complete it and say, this is how many pay periods I want to be able to do this through, or this is how I want this deduction to look specifically as a one-time. Make sure people pay attention to the math. The form is not set up to auto-calculate. This is the one part where we all have to bring back our math hats, bust out a calculator, and make sure we're doing the calculations correctly, okay? Yep, if you got it on your cell phone, your computer, if you have a child who you'd like to charge that with. I know when our daughter was younger, that used to be what we were always thought we were cool doing, was like, hey, we have to do simple math. I don't feel like doing it. I'm gonna waste it on my kid. So good learning opportunities virtually from home. And then at the very bottom there's a section where you can give your authorization to have your information shared with the charities that you're giving to, or not shared with the charities. I can tell you, usually if you share your information with the charities, they send you a postcard or a letter later to say thank you for donating, and they may send you a letter before Partners in Giving starts again to remind you to consider them when it comes time for your annual donations. And then at the very, very bottom, as I mentioned, you've got the address there and the email address that form can be remitted to. Now, for paper options, if you are going to have a physical pledge form completed, I want to very, 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 very specifically point out, you're not touching the pledge forms. As volunteers or chairs, this is on the next slide too, you're not receiving those pledge forms. Those pledge forms will be mailed in directly to the fiscal agent, or they should be emailed in. You should not be accepting them. Nobody is taking anything to the credit union this year. That's a big change for a lot of us who have participated years over years. So other options for paper, you can request that those materials be mailed to you. So as I mentioned, you can go out to our website. There's a Google form out there that you can link to. You'll put in your home mailing address. And from there, then that person will receive a pledge form, a charity booklet, and the prepaid return envelope. So campaign is going to cover the cost of sending that envelope with the pledge form back into us. So if we have people that want to pay by check, that is how they're going to do that, attach a check, and then they will mail that in to the fiscal agent. We do want to specifically point out that just because you go in on the first day of the campaign and request those materials does not mean you'll receive it within 4 business days or anything like that. We're going to do a bulk mailer mid-campaign so we can get as many people as possible out there in the mail, and then we will start to mail additional materials as those requests are received through that Google form. Otherwise, for paper options, we talked about centralized material pickup. So chairs, again, were given the option to say, hey, I have some folks on site. I want to have 50 booklets and associated materials available for them. They chose a location to put those materials so that people could go and access them. In those materials, again, they receive paper pledge forms, booklets, and prepaid return envelopes. So that a donor can go to that centralized location, pick up that material, and then mail their completed pledge form into our fiscal agent. So remember, chairs, treasurers, volunteers, nobody's collecting forms and nobody is sending them into the credit unions this year. We do as much as we want to. We want to reduce the contact for folks. We are definitely trying as much as possible to keep this campaign safe. As Tammy mentioned, one of our big goals is to have a safe campaign, and that means limiting contact whenever possible. So for that reason, you're not getting those paper things. People are going to be getting that themselves. We would ask that you not tell people to return any unused booklets or envelopes or forms back to that centralized location. Please toss them in the recycle. Don't share them. It's the same thing. We don't want to pass the paper around if we can help it, okay? All right. Next questions for you guys. So here's another break in the period. Do you have any questions about the logistics of the paper pledge form process? Either how to mail, where to mail, or what to do? We'll check.
I'm just
Looks like
taking a look.
there's no questions. Yeah.
That's when I always say this. It always makes me nervous that there's no questions on this section because it's such a big change. I know for some of you, you're hearing about this first time. I know we've been communicating it out to the chairs, and the LEs have been talking about it too. But this might be something you're hearing for the first time and just trying to process how you're going to make it work with your unit. But, as Lindsay said, we're definitely trying to make this the safest campaign as possible. And, took quite a few months to review all the possible options to make this work. And this seemed like the most logical and being consistent with what rules and policies and things we're all under right now. So,
yeah, big changes. I mean, a lot of people are used to taking things to the credit union, kind of as per usual, collecting these forms, doing those types of things, and that is not happening this year.
And
so just remember that.
Yep, and I was just going to add, part of the reason about the credit union is actually at UW Credit Union, there's still no in-person right now, unless it's by appointment. So that was another consideration we took. Lori has a question: is when will the paper pledge forms, etc., arrive to the units? Lori, that's a really good question. We are in the process of printing the materials that need to be printed, and our hope is we all still have to continue working with the state mail delivery and the campus mail delivery and getting those out to you. We are still hoping it happens before the campaign starts, but honestly, at this point, we can't guarantee it just because there's a lot of moving parts and things that we can't control. So stay tuned though. Oh, you're welcome, Lori. She said thank you. What other questions are there? All right, well, as Lindsay mentioned, definitely feel free to ask them along the way, and we definitely have time at the end to answer additional questions that may pop up once we talk about the rest of the slides and go from there. Lindsay, did you have anything else pop up on your end?
I haven't had anything pop up on my end yet.
Okay.
That's okay. So, if you have questions,
yep,
send them to the moderators. You can send them to me as well, and I'll throw them at Tammy as we finish up here.
Absolutely. All right, so then I'll take over talking about special events. And as I mentioned in the beginning, special events are a big part of this campaign. Is a way that we can get the word out about our campaign. So we see special events sort of in two buckets. There's the kickoff events, and those are really typically those events to give that education about what the campaign is, or really just get the team going and ready to go for the year. They're not so much set up as other special events are to raise for specific money. So that's sort of what we take a look at. We also like to emphasize, though, that this campaign really is, though, a traditional workplace campaign with those traditional payrolls and cash, check donations, etc., things like that. And so special events are great. They raise a large amount of money. They make an awareness, but we also want folks to make sure that we're still focusing on that participation part of the campaign through the payroll and the credit card and check donation options like that. So if you're going to hold a special event, we want you to be very creative. And this year, there are to be no in-person special events. They should all be virtual. And this is so that we're in compliance with the local requirements, that restrictions that we're currently under in Dane County, and just honestly for safety and just health reasons that we should not be having any personal events. We have updated our special event guide to be virtually focused, and I will show that to you once we get towards the ends of the slides here. I'll close out the slideshow and then pull up the PDF that shows this. And as long as our website's still working, go straight to the website where we have that and you can find that information. Get your campaign team and volunteers involved with planning of your special events. Don't try to take it on yourself. I think we're normal, busy day job folks, and I think with the environment that we're in right now, even more busy. So don't try to plan those. And if you've sat in one of my UW trainings before, I always say this is where the comment about don't be a two-legged stool, but be 3 or 4 to really hold that support and have you around you. We do have a couple tools that we're looking into for special event donations that we'll share once I show the document. Plan and host virtual kickoff events with speakers. And as I said, no in-person tabling events will be held this year. So if you traditionally requested that information before, there will be some speaker requests we'll go, and I'll show you that in a couple slides from now. But there will be no tabling in-person events, which I know are a big hit because you have representatives from the umbrellas and some of the charities come, in addition to some folks have requested cookies be delivered as a treat for anybody that comes to some of those tabling events. And I don't know who's sadder about this, though, the folks that eat the cookies or Carly from our fiscal agent who got to deliver them and had her car smell like a bakery for 2 months during the year for that freshener. So. So since we're not having in-person events, and also since We mentioned that we are not going to the credit union. The question is, well, how do I get to give for special events? And so we have a solution for you. We have purchased a license that allows payments via credit card. So what it is called is MobileCause, and it's going to be a direct link and have texting options. So both the state, the UW, and UW Health will all have their own link to this MobileCause. In addition, they will all have a code for texting option, and I'll explain the texting option in just a second here. But this is what the page is going to look like. This is just sort of a mock-up we have. They're going to have the capabilities of selecting what that special event donation amount is going to be. We've pre-selected 5, 10, 20, or other. And if you select other, that is where you can put the dollar amount here in this in that box below. And the minimum donation amount is $1. Below that is the donor information. That's where they're going to put their name, first name, last name, their text or mobile number, and their email address, either or. They do require that put the zip code in for verification on your credit card. The next box where it says, please select your state agency. That is where it's going to, that drop down menu is going to select the unit. So if you are a state agency, it's going to have all the state agencies listed. If you're at UW, it's all going to have the all school colleges division listed, and you'll select which one you fit under. And then under event description, this is where we're looking to you who are setting up special events to have a standard event description for that particular event. So for example, in the College of Engineering, we typically do a silent auction. So if I set up the event description on that, it would say COE silent auction 2020 or something very similar like that. Oops, I'm sorry about that. This, this happened yesterday too. I always feel like it's like the Partners in Giving folks behind the scene doing that. Okay, let's get back. So then once there'll be a box down here for you to hit next or enter, then the next screen will show where you enter your credit card information and will go in. There is a text option, as I mentioned. I just saw a question pop up. Is this a mobile app? It is not a mobile app. So it's going to be a link that you will provide us. The other option is text. So each place will get a code, state, UW, and UW Health, that somebody if wants to text from their phone, they would text that number, and then this link would come back and they'd be able to make that deposit directly on their phone. And so it would fit within a phone size on that question. There is going to be some reporting done behind the scenes. So our loan executives will be working with the fiscal agent to get that information, and they will be sharing it with the chairs. Now, obviously, it's not in a real-time situation. So if you're having a special event where you need to count people, if it's some kind of contest in a hurry, or something like that, we are encouraging you to do one of two things. One is ask your employees to forward the confirmation email that they get so that you can count that information. The other option is that you can just trust them, and you can set it up where they just send you an email, or you set up a Google form where they enter their name and then the amount they give for that special event. And then obviously you can verify that as a chair once you get that information in from there. Just seeing, checking out comments quick. Yes, this is a great option. We love it. I mean, amazing resources and questions like that. Yeah, there's been a lot of, I always give the example of this is that we, for a number of years, been hearing from donors of having some kind of credit card option for special events. The example that I give, and again, in the College of Engineering, we do a pie event every year. And typically we do it in an area where there's a lot of students. And they're always coming up, they want pie. We do it right before Thanksgiving. They're hungry for something, but a lot of them can't participate, that we might sneak them a piece because they're always either trying to give us their WISC card or a credit card. They're not carrying around cash. So we're hoping that if this is successful during this current year under the situation that we're on, that it'll be something that we will be continuing up. Lori had a question, will the payment show up in real time in the financial report? So it'll be added to those weekly reports, not in real time, but obviously whatever the cutoff for that week is and for what information our fiscal agent has. So it will be mostly up to date, but it's not like a real time situation. Okay, I'm just gonna cut it back here. Here's another question. So the coordinators can go into the website can coordinators go into the website to set up the event before sharing with our staff? No, it will not. So that's where I'm saying you'll have to set up that specific code for your event with your employees through email communication or something like that. Is that this is set up just for a high level deposit only. There's no ability to go into the system to customize it to your needs. Just checking out the second question. And those who participate, will they receive an email receipt or something as verification that their pledge went through? Yes, as I mentioned, when they put either their mobile number in here in that box on this page or their email, once it's submitted, they will get a confirmation of that deposit. Okay, I think, when will we receive the link? Dawn is asking, when will we receive this link? We are just in the final stages, as of a lot of things right now, getting updated to the website, of signing contracts with MobileCause and making sure everything's set on that end. So as soon as the link is available, we will be emailing it out to the chairs via constant contact. Okay, so I mentioned before requesting speakers. We still have that ability. We are really highly recommending to request speakers for virtual kickoffs, lunch and learns, etc. with the charity speakers, just like you've done before, but do it in a virtual environment. So if that means you do a lunch and learn around the lunchtime where you ask people to come on Zoom or go to meeting or Teams, etc., things like that, or maybe you set up a separate meeting so for some kind of kickoff and have those speakers. The charity speakers are available to join virtually or pre-recorded messages. I'm very cautious though, if you're looking for a pre-recorded message, is that it's a bit difficult, as you can imagine, to get 500 pre-recorded messages from all our charities. So right now we're looking to speak with or getting those pre-recorded messages from some of our umbrellas. So we are highly encouraging to do the live virtually option if you need a charity speaker. The request form is still on the giving.wi.gov on our website, as like it always has been, and you will go and fill out that information with your name. I believe it's 2 or 3 possible dates for speakers, and with some general information with that, just like we have done previously. And then obviously you can ask your loan executive to help you schedule a speaker and help plan those eventual virtual kickoff or special events. Okay, so we've hit a point of discussion questions, and I know there's some coming in. Lindsay, if you want to happen to take those couple questions, I'm going to pop this off and get us to the special event guide that I want to show everybody.
I can. So we had a question here about, will you send special instructions for setup with the link to send out? So as we mentioned, there is no setup that you have to do for MobileCause. The links will send out, and that'll be what you use to provide to people. But the only portions that go into MobileCause that are going to be pre-set up by the administrative side, so by the board, will be where you select what the name of your agency or your business unit or school is specifically. The event description, which is what Tammy mentioned, that's what you specifically put in as kind of your code of reference on what that event was. That's something that is manually entered. That's not a drop-down option that's configurable or anything like that. So that means that when you are setting up and arranging for your special events internally, you need to be the one to tell your staff, this is the code you're going to do. We're using code Halloween contest for voting for this, or this is how we're going to receive the money for this silent auction item. So please enter in this code when you give your money for that. But there is no setup being done as chairs, nothing for you to do on the MobileCause site, because we're already going to have specifically that list of agencies and organizations entered in there for people to select who they want that money to go towards.
Awesome. Okay, so as I mentioned, I want to.
It looks like Carly just dropped that link for special events. So if you look in the chat box, Carly was able to put in the link on how to request a virtual speaker. There is a form that we have out on our website, and that is in the chat box for you.
Awesome. Okay, so I have opened up what that virtual updated special event document that I had referenced before. what we have done. So as you can see, we have it broken out to some best practices for events and communication. You can take a look on there, how to publicize and communicate, how to during the campaign, what you should focus on for those. On this next one here, I just wanted to point out a few things. We have our website yet again. We can't say that to you enough. It goes from there. And then your loan executives are a valuable resource. If you have any questions about some regular events you may have had in person prior and want to turn them into virtual events, please contact Roxy or Christy from our committee, and they can definitely help you out with that information. The other thing I wanted to point out here is for those folks that may have had an in-person silent auction, there is a tool called 32auctions.com that is great. We've actually used this for a number of successful auctions we've had that I've done both for Partners in Giving and some work outside of Partners in Giving for that. If you have 20 items or less, it's actually free to use, but if you happen to have more, it's at a very, very low fee that you would have to pay. And obviously you can set up contactless delivery. As well, if you're involved with the Wellness Wisconsin, Stay Well Wisconsin, there's some information on that as well and how to tie that into a special event. Down below here is what I wanted to show you, what we've actually converted some events into virtual. The first one listed here is a virtual step stair challenge, 10,000 steps a day or a walkathon, and how that can work out for your agency or unit. I don't know about anybody else, but once I started working from home, I definitely was not getting my 10,000 steps. So I think this is a good way to make sure we're all getting up and getting moving, is holding it as a special event. Virtual bingo, there's a way, if your agency allows it, that you can have donations for those cards. And our loan executives have been working really hard behind the scene and actually have created, I believe it's 200 bingo cards that are available via PDF that you could use as well for that. In addition to a scavenger hunt information, how can that be done remotely, and some suggestions for a scavenging hunt. I actually love this idea. I'm hoping I can get involved with this one because I actually got to see my son do it in the spring for virtual school. He'd be running around here and I'd be like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I thought it was a bad day, but they were actually given a letter and they had to go find a whole bunch of stuff in the house. And so I think that could be a lot of fun as a virtual special event. Team theme days, crazy hat bands, t-shirt days, etc. Things like that. Maybe have a group meeting if you are planning for when you have a big all staff meeting or something to see people participate. Local restaurant and event auctions where you can get gift cards for folks that they can use for the future, maybe in something they don't have to use right now. Pumpkin carving painting contest virtually. So if you've done that before in office, it's probably a pretty easy one to do. Have everybody buy a pumpkin or do some kind of painting theme around a holiday. Same with a Halloween costume contest, a pet contest. Who is that? A picture contest, and then a back to normal food event. So that's where you could sell tickets to a food event to be held at a TBA once social distancing and restrictions are listed, but have that as an event now and then have the food later. So we heard some great ideas earlier in the week as well when it comes to calendar and things like that. So yeah, just wanted to share this. This is actually on the website. So do we have any questions?
Not so far.
Okay.
We know that some of you are in the place right now where you don't know what to ask yet, and that's okay. We've all been there. You don't know what you don't know yet. So by all means, if you come up with questions afterwards, feel free to let us know. Our contact information will be available on the website. And of course, once we have this recording, we'll have it out there on the site as well. So there is a question. Do all of the special event donations have to go to the same beneficiary?
I'm sorry.
For special events, yeah, did you want to take that? Go for it.
The Partners in Giving campaign, we do not designate it to any certain charity. It goes to just a general fund, but there may be ways that they could donate to a special cause because they had somebody suffering with cancer or something like that. We've had in the past, but normally all the money goes just to a general fund that gets spread to help finance the campaign. Did I say it how you guys would have said it, or no?
You got it,
No, that
Christy.
was, you got it. You got it. Yep. And actually, I'll just add to that. When you go to a general campaign, it is divided out, or general donations, it does get divided out amongst the umbrellas based on a ratio of how it's given that year. So in addition to particularly covering some of the basic finances of the campaign, it does get distributed to the umbrellas, who then will distribute it down to the umbrella organization. So
I just realized I didn't even have my camera on.
it's all right, Christy.
That's okay.
Everybody
There's
say hi to
Christy. You got all three of them.
Was
I'll
there
go
any other
back.
questions that came in that I missed when I was chatting or talking that I?
Nope. We're all caught up.
All right, so is there other? I will hop back on the presentation here. It was so quiet when I was presenting, I actually thought I lost all of you. So it's good to know you're still out here. All right. So if there's no other questions, we want to say a couple thank yous. One, thank you for attending, and obviously good luck with your campaign here to this year. But more importantly, I just want to say thank you for your volunteering to be part of this campaign. You know, it's not, we have a pretty successful campaign, and it would not be as successful without the volunteers like yourself. So thank you on behalf of the board, the committees, everybody involved, but most importantly, thank you on behalf of the people who benefit from the charities that we work with in the 500 that are involved with this campaign. You know, in these times, especially right now, things are tough, and we recognize folks. You know, we're asking folks who might be in a financial situation where they may not be able to give as much that they have previously, and that's okay. You know, we're stronger together when we work together, and the small amounts, it makes a big difference. So thank you for doing all the work that you do to get the state, UW, and UW Health employees to participate in this campaign. Lindsay, did you have some additional closing thoughts?
My usual plug is always going to be, if you feel like you want to go further down the Partners in Giving rabbit hole, there are a lot of different ways to do that. Partners in Giving, the campaign is put together by a variety of volunteers across the state side and the UW side. As Tammy mentioned in the very beginning, we are part of the Training and Outreach Committee. We're always looking for new members. We are the ones that host the trainings for chair orientation and then the volunteer sessions. And we also prepare a lot of the documentation that's on the website. We're always looking for new people to join us. So if you're interested in training or participating, please contact us afterwards. There are some other committees that also assist with various different aspects of the campaign. We have our marketing committee, which puts together the logo that you can see here on the bottom page, as well as our charity booklet, and they maintain a big portion of our website for us. Marketing committee is actively looking for members. We have our eligibility committee, as Tammy mentioned in the beginning, in about February, March. We have a group of folks that actually review all of the charity applications, again, year after year, to include them into our charity campaign. They are always looking for members. And then we have coordinating committees, and the coordinating committees exist on both the UW side and the state side. And those are usually representative of former chairs who are assisting as a resource for new chairs. So we have a couple of folks who have done that, who are participating right now. They're really just helpful to, you know, kind of give chairs pointers on what worked for them, things they've tried, and they communicate with all the other business units, schools, and agencies at the same time. So they're able to get you a lot of information along with those loaned executives. So that is my shameless plug for anyone to join us if you feel interested after today or even after the campaign. And, you know, sometimes you got to get your feet fully wet before you decide to commit to something like that.
And we're a fun group. All right, well, that is all we have. If you have any questions that you want to pop up to ask us as people are signing off, feel free to do that quick, and we're happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and happy Friday Eve.
Yes, Friday Eve. Stay dry. Looks like it's going to rain at some point in time.
Hey, Tammy and Lindsay, I do have to say, and